Hey, what is up, everybody? It's Joe again from Grindhouse Grotto. Hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend. I'm super excited today to introduce you all to a new ongoing series that I'm starting, and that is entitled The Forgotten. What I plan to do are talk about some lesser known films in the horror genre. Maybe they've flown under the radar, people have never heard of them before, the casual horror fans probably just never seen these before. And that's why I want to introduce everybody to some of my favorite lesser known films. And what I plan to do is every volume of this series that I do, I'm going to showcase a certain set of films within that subgenre, and then I'm going to do individual reviews of each one of those films. So volume 1 is going to be covering slasher obscurities. These are films, these are, really low budget films. A lot of them have never been released on DVD. Sometimes they've been released on DVD, but they're, the transfer on them looks absolutely horrible. These films just don't get enough love. People have never heard about them before. If you go into horror communities, the casual horror fans probably never heard of them. But a lot of these are near and dear to my heart. And I think the more people will watch these movies, the more they will appreciate them. And they'll get the same kind of love that I get from watching these films. So I'm going to go ahead and showcase the first 5 films that I have. Now, these are not all of the horror films, slasher films that I want to review. So I might do, like a Slasher Obscurities Part 2. These are the first 5 films that I pulled, and these are like kind of my favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and show you all the first 5 films in this Volume 1. First up, an awesome film. Reminds me of a couple mainstream slasher films that you might have heard of before. It's got some elements of a lot of films, but it's just a really overall fun film, and that is Killer Workout. Slasher Video did this about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's a very poor quality Blu-ray. To be quite honest with you, this is pretty much like an upscale from VHS to DVD. It barely qualifies as DVD quality. I mean, there's parts in the film where it's really just really poor, but it's nice to have this because this is a really hard movie to find on VHS tapes. So just to even have it on Blu-ray is a blessing, because like I said, it's hard to track down the VHS. But anyways, I find this film to be really fun. It's over the top sleazy, so if that's your kind of thing, then definitely look out for this. It takes place in a fitness club, and basically what happens is there's a killer on the loose. It could be, a revengeful girlfriend or boyfriend. It could just be a random psychopath. We don't really know who it is. There's a lot of scenes of like borderline, almost softcore porn in here, where you get all the different girls and they're exercising and they're wearing some of the most skimpiest workout clothes I've ever seen. I mean, it's almost like they're doing aerobics in like, in bra and panties. It's just ridiculous. But I find this film to be very fun and entertaining, and there's a lot of actually really good gore scenes in here. If you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend checking it out. I'm going to be doing a full review on this later on. Next up, I actually just watched this film last night. This is probably my favorite out of the 5 that I have here today, and that is Scream. Now, don't get this confused with the 90s version of Scream. They're not in any way connected. They just share the same name, and this one came out, I believe, in '82. So this was kind of like midway through the slasher, early slasher phase of the early '80s. It's a really awesome film. A lot of people have never heard of this before. It takes place in a small like ghost town in the West. I think it probably takes place in Colorado because it kind of looks like that landscape. But anyways, these 20-year-old, 30-year-old people, they're on this trip. They go on this rafting trip, and they get off the lake, and they find themselves in this deserted town. And as soon as they get there, there's just crazy things going on. Things seem out of place. People start dying. It's got a really creepy atmosphere. I'll talk more about this when I do this review. But this is an awesome film. It really deserves people to check it out. It's not your typical slasher, and I think that's what gives this film a lot of charm. I really enjoy this film quite a bit. And this got a release from Code Red. So the majority of these films are Code Red releases. Code Red typically picks up a lot of the lesser-known movies that people have never heard of before. I dig the hell out of this movie. I think a lot of people need to watch it. Next up, this is probably the most mainstream out of the stack of movies that I have. I mean, it's still a pretty obscure film, but a lot of people have heard of this, but it just doesn't, a lot of people don't enjoy it. It's got a really small cult following, and that is Don't Go in the Woods Alone. This movie is just... This is not even B movie. This is like C movie, if you could even call it that. This movie is kind of a parody of slasher films. Takes place a group of kids going out camping. You know, it's your typical slasher fodder. Kids go camping. They put up camp and they start getting killed one by one. These kills in this movie are very gruesome, but at the same time they're very poorly done. They're really bad special, really bad effects. The blood doesn't look like blood. It looks almost like ketchup. One thing that bugs me about this film is that they dubbed over the actor's voices, and they put like a dubbed over version of it. So when the people are talking, it's not matching up. I don't know why they did that. It kind of adds to the silliness of this film. But it's a backwoods slasher, and you got this really crazy looking killer. Like I said, I'll talk about this more when I do this review, but it's a good film. It's a region film, regional slasher. I like it if I'm just really into just watching a bizarre film. I'll check this one out, but it's probably my least favorite of all the ones that I have here. At the same time, it's the most well-known out of the 5 that I have here. But yeah, if you haven't seen this, Vinegar Syndrome released this a couple years ago. Pretty decent pickup. Next up, I love this movie. It can be kind of slow at times. It's not a high body count slasher, but nonetheless, I really dig this movie a lot. It's kind of a murder mystery, and that is Sweet 16. This is another Code Red release. Came out, I think, about a year ago. And I think 88 Films has actually released this as well, if I'm not mistaken. But I think you can still find this for relatively cheap, pretty much under $20. If you search for it on eBay, you can find the Code Red release. And you're pretty much getting the same special features on both releases. They look pretty much identical. This movie is really cool. It's got a, it's a murder mystery, so you don't know who the killer is. I think you can kind of figure out who it is just by basically looking at the cover. When you first look at the cover and then you see the movie, you pretty much know who the killer is. Even though they try to add in some red herrings, you know who it is. This story follows a small town. It's near a Indian reservation, and some killings start happening just in time for this girl. She shows up to town. She's young. She's 15 years old. She's about to have her 16th birthday. She doesn't look 16 years old. She looks a lot older, a little bit more mature than the other girls in her school. You get an appearance from Dana Kimmel from Friday the 13th Part 3. She's kind of like this girl who's obsessed with murders, and she's kind of like a Nancy Drew type character. Her and her brother want to go out and find out. They want to basically help her dad, who's the town sheriff, solve these cases. But anyways, this is a pretty cool film. It's it's not a high body count. It's more of a murder mystery, but it's definitely a slasher. I highly recommend this. I do enjoy this quite a bit. I like the kills in here. I like the characters. I really like the characters a lot in this. It's got a really cheesy song about Melissa, the main girl in this, and that's one of my complaints because it's just really cheesy. But anyways, guys, I'm going to do a review on this, so stand by for that. I'll review this in my series. And then last but not least, another really good film. This film I think suffers with a lot of like inconsistencies due to the fact that it tries to do too much. It tries to just have a lot going on, and it's not really strong in one particular thing, and that is The Forest. So what you have is a backwoods slasher with some supernatural elements in it, and then cannibalism. So you put all that together, and it's just got way too much going on in this film. I do like it. Don't get me wrong. Even though I feel like it has too much going on in it, there's something about this film that's very charming that I really do enjoy this film a lot. It follows a group of early 20s adults, and they are going on a camping trip. So these girls, they want to prove to their boyfriends that they can go out and camp on their own. They're not just these young, naive girls. So they go out. There's a man that's kind of living off the land, and he's a cannibal. He lives in a cave, and he picks these people off one by one. And that's all I want to reveal about this movie. I'm going to do a review on this. This is a really fun film. I really dig the hell of this movie. It's just a really cool slasher. It's got a different feel to it. But anyways, guys, those are the first 5 films that I want to cover in this series entitled The Forgotten. These are slasher obscurities that, like I said, people have never heard of before. They don't get very much attention. Just films that I find to be really good, but for some reason people just don't enjoy them. But I do. So that's why I'm doing this series. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got any slasher films that you feel like are obscurities, hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what they are. I can probably track them down, add them to my series, and I can do a review on them. Maybe I already have them, so that's even better. Hit me with a thumbs up if you like this video. If you're excited to, watch my series, please subscribe to my channel. Any support is greatly appreciated. I just appreciate, meeting people, talking to people about, the movies that I love. And I want to grow my channel and kind of reach out to a bigger audience. So any support would be greatly appreciated. Alright guys, hope you enjoy this video. Until next time, peace.